Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. I hope you've been enjoying our special coverage of the 2015 presidential election. What we've not done today is to analyze the dynamics of this election in concrete terms. How and what will it take for each of the candidates to win the presidency? And to help us do that now, we are going to go to Liverpool, United Kingdom, to speak to Dr. Adegbola Ojo. Dr. Joe, welcome to Sahara TV.
Good evening, Rudolph.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. Let me start by saying that you wrote this paper on landscaping Nigeria's electoral geography, where you analyzed what you think will happen today. Now it's happening. Any surprises on your end?
Well, not many surprises, to be honest. It's in many areas. It's actually taking place. I mean, the results, kind of preliminary results or expectations, are actually tallying up with my predictions. I delineated certain states, some 13 states that I defined as battleground states, yeah, based on certain characteristics of those states, which we can talk about.
Yeah, I wanted to go into that. What are the states and what are the characteristics of those states?
Okay, very interesting. You know, I mean, you know, all sorts of people have come up with descriptions for this battleground state, and the way I started was to try and theorize. You know, let's theorize. You know, you start from before you have a battleground state. You need to understand what the battle is, isn't it? So I said, well, what is the battle? The battle here is that the PDP dominated in certain states back in 2011. Some of those states are now vulnerable states. Well, they were vulnerable in 2011 based on the voting patterns in 2011. So I said, basically what we can do, let's understand the voting patterns in 2011 and extract from those voting patterns those vulnerable states, and those states will end up as battleground states. So what I did was to combine the votes of the ACN, the CPC, and the ANPP secured back in 2011, and I allocated those votes to the APC on the basis, on the basis of the fact that the APC is a combination of those core political parties, and then compare that with the votes of the PDP.
Okay.
And then I detected where these two dominating parties had what you call absolute and simple majorities. Absolute majorities dependent, which is based on the total number of eligible voters. Simple majorities based on total number of actual voters. And then I broke those absolute and simple majorities down to weak and strong absolute and simple majorities. So strong absolute majorities are secured on the basis of so a party was deemed to have secured a strong absolute majority in a state if that party acquired about 2/3 or more of all eligible voters. Now, a party would have secured strong simple majority if that party was able to acquire 2/3 or more of actual voters.
Okay.
And then for the simple majorities obviously where a scenario where there is a majority, but it is not up to 2/3. So a weak simple majority, for instance, means votes amassed by a party are actually greater than half, but less than two-thirds of the votes cast. And a weak absolute majority would mean the party acquired over half of the votes, but over half of well, well, uh, over half of the number of votes secured by the party is equivalent to over half of the registered electorates, but not up to two-thirds.
Okay, Professor Ojo, let me ask you, looking at Lagos State, can you apply this principle? How did Lagos State become a battleground state? And can you zero in on Lagos?
Yes, Lagos State, in the PDP back in 2011, the PDP dominated in Lagos State. They had a strong, simple majority there. A strong, simple majority, meaning that they had more than two-thirds of the actual number of voters in Lagos, more than two-thirds of the actual number of voters in Lagos. So on that basis, Lagos became. There are two. What happened was, what I detected was that the PDP there were states where the PDP had weak simple majorities, which is those became some of the most vulnerable states. And then, but the PDP didn't have any weak absolute majority. So the next category of states considered as battlegrounds were states where the PDP had strong simple majorities, and that's where Lagos falls. So the likes of Lagos, Ondo, Kogi, Benue, and Plateau fall into that category.
Okay.
They fall into the strong simple majority.
Okay.
There are five of them. They fall into the category of states where the PDP secured strong simple majority, but they are battleground states.
Okay. Now, Dr. Joe, I don't know if you've seen some of the results that are coming in from different states.
Yes.
So what do you think about the results? Are they in line? For instance, in Ekiti, what are you looking at? And are they in line with your prediction?
Yes, my predictions, yes. I mean, some of them have been filtering through. I think it is still early days, but they're in line with my predictions. And I said that the APC would sweep the Southwest. That is what I said. I know a number of people have been concerned about Ondo State, but I said there is an effect. I called it the Southwest effect, a surge of the APC in the Southwest. Now, I'm sure you probably read my paper. I have been observing the political temperature of Nigeria, not since the last election. I have been carefully studying the political temperature at granular scales, that is at local government area scales, to understand what the political temperature is like, what the socioeconomic temperature is like, what the security situation is like. So quite a number of dynamics that I have been putting together. And I have discovered that in the Southwest, the agitation against the president and the intention, the dislike for his leadership style has been very, very, I mean, residents of the Southwest do not like his leadership style. They're discontented, highly discontented. And they believe they have given him an opportunity, because without the support of the Southwest region, it is unlikely that the president could have won the last election on his own. So basically, I'm not surprised by what is happening in the likes of Ondo and Ekiti State. I think Ondo and Ekiti State will go in the direction of the APC.
Now,
yes.
Okay.
I'm quite confident.
Now, if that trend should continue, is there any path to the presidency for the president, back to the presidency? Is there any path open for him if you are going by the results we are seeing from the Southwest?
Okay. Well, I honestly, okay, look at it. he needs to win two-thirds of um, two-thirds of 27 of 37 territories. So approximately he needs 24 territories. Now, based on my analysis before this election, I said the territorial strongholds of the APC is equal to 14 states, including Osun State. Osun State is the epicenter of the APC in the southwest, the southwest. Um, Now, so Osun State is the epicenter. Now, I can't see any road. Once the president loses control of the southwest, that's it. There's no going back. I can't see any because then he'll be relying on the north central states, the battleground states within the North Central, and those battleground states within the North Central include the likes of Adamawa, Taraba, Plateau, Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, and indeed Kwara and Abuja. You know, the Southwest effect will trigger victory for the APC in Kwara. That is a definite. Again, going by the sentiments of the public against the president on corruption, on insecurity, on the handling of the economy. There are strong feelings against the president in places like Kwara. So where I have said in my paper that the hardest nuts for the APC to crack will be Kogi and Plateau State. So once the president loses control of the Southwest, I think that's the end.
Okay, Dr. Joe, we thank you so much for coming to break this down for us.
Thank you very much.
I hope if you are free tomorrow when the results are finally in, we want to talk to you again and get a whole picture of things.
Thank you. No, that is fine. I should be available to speak further on the matters. And I want to commend you for the excellent work you have been doing.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay.
All right. So now we are going to go back to our panel, who they're here quietly listening. Okay, they're not listening, but they're here with me, and we want to analyze this further. Joining me next to me is Bukola, Oreofe. Most of you have seen him in the last panel. Welcome back to Sahara TV.
Thank you, Rudolf.
And at the other end is, you know him, Dr. Perry Brimah. He's a regular on Sahara TV. Dr. Perry, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so it's getting dark in Nigeria. The results coming in some places, and in some places they are not counting the votes. What do you think is going
on? It's not right that the elections will take place and they won't count the votes at the polling units, because that will give room for, a lot of manipulation. The whole idea is to make sure people come out to vote, and once they cast their vote, they should also stay there and know who the winner is or get the results. At least at that level, they are sure that their votes actually, the result reflect their votes. We also, part of the process is to engage citizens to make sure Nigerians are also involved. And you've seen that people on Twitter, Facebook, sending out results that they get from their polling units, which also helps in being able to preserve the credibility of the process. But once people cast their votes and they have to go home without being able to know what the result is, I think that sort of puts a question mark on the credibility of the vote. Mm-hmm. What I would have expected is that INEC should have been able to, preempt a situation like this and be able to prepare ad hoc mechanism, where when it gets dark, they have to figure out how to do this. I read one of the reports that in Abuja, I think it's AP Plaza polling unit, a neighbor had to go bring his own generator. The guy said, no way, we must know the results that, it's happening here. So I know that one of the reasons why this took so long was because they had problems in doing the accreditation. So that kind of pushed the whole exercise towards, the late hours. But I would really desire that everything should be done to make sure they can count those votes tonight. They can record it, and at least we know what happened in all of the polling units that the votes, were cast.
Mm. Okay, Dr. Perry, this is your first time on our panel. Let me ask you first, what is your take on how the day has been going in Nigeria?
Well, so far so good. It's better than I thought it would have been. So, that's the overall picture is better than I thought it would have been. So, it's sad and unfortunate for some of the terrible things that we have heard have started happening. But we can manage this. I don't have high expectations from the Jonathan government of conducting a free and fair election. So I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't expecting that. So I could just say we are keeping on watching very closely, and the murders and other crisis remedy has to happen.
Do you see a possibility that they could carry the votes and keep it somewhere and it will be safe, and the next morning they will bring it out and count?
As to that question, I don't see that happening. So the people need to get lanterns, generators, and sit down there tonight and count that vote. That's the safest thing. You can't, in Nigeria, unless the people who are the polling booths are going to go, like, at least maybe 50 of them are going to go along with the box. But that box can't go anywhere where we don't know. We can't play around with that kind of stuff. Even the way it is, we are having people, carrying INEC, filled out forms. Then, we are talking about taking a box somewhere. This is an election. If we are going to sleep there, let the people please surround those boxes and sleep there. Don't let any papers come inside or leave. So it's either we sleep there with the boxes, or we count them with candles, lanterns. They need to complete that job. That's my take.
Mm. Well, I don't. Do you think that will happen? That people are going to sleep with the ballot boxes?
Well, I hope people are outraged enough, with the state of Nigeria, how we've been pushed to the brink of collapse economically, where there's pervasive ruin in Nigeria. I pray they are so angry enough to say, you know what, nobody's taking these ballot papers out of here. Whatever it's going to take, we're all going to stay here and make sure we know what happens. I pray it does happen, because once you take it away to somewhere, right there is a question mark on the credibility. When you come in tomorrow and you have to, okay, what are you saying? You're going to tell people go home, come back at 9 o'clock, we'll come and count it. So we are not sure the same people will return. Where would the ballot box be sleeping? Will they take it to the INEC office or somebody's house? Where's it going to be? Mm-hmm. So I just believe that to be able to preserve the credibility is to make sure that people stay there. And if they can get a lantern, the candle. In school, remember, we use candle to study. So, and each polling unit, probably maximum, 400 votes? I think they can get lantern and candles to count 400 votes. Mm-hmm. So that wouldn't be like all night thing. So 2-3 hours with candle, with lantern, generator, I'm sure they can let that happen. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't let them take it away.
Now, something similar, there are some places where they've said that voting will extend to tomorrow. I think it's across the country. Are you worried about that tomorrow some people will still be going to vote?
I like that, actually. I don't have high expectations, unfortunately. And INEC, Jega is appointed by Jonathan. The printing papers, releasing budgets, all these things were coordinated under the Jonathan government. So if we can finish it in 2 days, even 3 days, as long as the votes they are not bringing in thumb-printed ballot papers. If this process takes us 3 days to get it accurately, let's go for 3 days. Because this is a one-time process. And then after that, we move on to the next. This is a one-time process. Whatever sacrifices we have to make, declare the 3 days a public holiday, declare a week the public holiday, because for the last 6 years, since the Abuja bombing, the only thing we've done, the only thing the Jonathan government has done is discuss the opposition for 6 years since Jonathan entered power. Let's spend a week on this process to get this process right. But let's get it right.
We spoke to Bishop Cooker, and he said some parish priests called him to say they are concerned that tomorrow people will be going to vote instead of going to church. And he said that voting is part of prayer, that people should go and vote, that he has no issue with that. So that's in line with what you're saying. Let's look at the breakdown. The president invested a lot of time and resources in the Southwest. Is seen as a region that he has to win to secure the second term. But the results we're getting now is indicating that maybe there are little results, but it's showing that maybe it didn't pay off, the investment in time. What do you think? I asked that Professor Joe about the path to the presidency. Is there any path to re-election for Jonathan without the Southwest?
Well, I'm not surprised if this investment in the Southwest is coming to naught, because there's really been nothing the president has invested in Nigeria that has actually yielded any results. It's going to be very tough for him if he loses the Southwest. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it was actually a miscalculation, even though it's an act of desperation. I think his handlers sat down, they looked at the map, and they knew they really have to go for the Southwest. The Southeast and the South-South, it's a given that it's going to win, majority, and probably all those states, and maybe with the exception of Edo, that may come into play. And the 19 states of the North is going to be tough for him to be able to, make inroads in unlikely areas. And the only shot he has is to go for the Southwest. And what he did was to bring in so much money and try and woo people to be able to vote for him. But I don't see that yielding result. You see, election is a process. It starts from when INEC says we have to register people. So if your party is not registering, you see, there can be a lot of hues and cries about, oh, we want this person to win. Did you get people to register at the time of registration? That's what matters. And I think APC in the Southwest, knowing that's their base, so to speak, I believe they did a lot of massive registration there. The late effort to now come in and bring in the money would make a little, give a little difference. But fundamentally, PDP did not invest enough in the Southwest. So to turn it overnight, I don't know how far they're going to go with the manipulation. I don't know how much they're going to compromise INEC and the RECs and various levels of the structure. But if it's going to be fair and fair, I think it was really late in the game for him to move the money there. And if you also look at the Northwest, where you have the numbers, the highest votes, those who collected PVC is from Kano. And Kano has Kwakwanso, who was very solid there. And I think Sanusi Lamido Sanusi too, seems to me that, what he has said in the last couple of weeks might lean towards, APC. So Kano is one state with about 4 million PVC collected, and Lagos with about 3.7 million PVCs collected. Those are huge numbers. And don't forget, for you to win the president, you must win the highest number of votes cast to general, and you must also win 25% of 2/3 of 36 meaning 24 states. So if he's not able to win those states that have the huge numbers, it makes it very difficult for him. And in the Southwest, the only two states that may come to play will be Ondo and Ekiti. And Ekiti has under about 500,000 PVC collected as eligible voters, so probably Ekiti. So the Southwest, I think, will really be an investment in waste.
Dr. Perry, can you help us understand the middle belt, the battleground in the middle of the country? We don't have results from there. We don't have any idea what's going on. But what do you think? Do you think that they are leaning towards Jonathan or towards Buhari, and what would determine that?
I honestly don't think even Bukola mentioned the South-South and the Southeast. And I am honestly not following those projections of Jonathan winning even in those areas. Even in the South-South and Southeast, I don't follow those projections. So I don't think without the rigging machine that Jonathan can win Bayelsa State. He cannot win Rivers without the rigging machine. So it's where his rigging machine best works. That's where he may win. So we know he has installed the machine powerfully in Rivers, and he's fighting with it there. So he might win Rivers. Bayelsa Dokubo is there with his guns, threatening people who come to the ballot. They are thumbprinting the ballots like this in Bayelsa. But when you come, once you move upwards, even in Abuja, which is seat of power, where you have the wealthy Nigerians who, they're on a different level than the rest of us who live under $1 a day. Even in Abuja, in Sun City, which is where Marilyn Oga, DSS, comes from, and a lot of eminent people come from, they live in Sun City. That's like a highbrow area. In Sun City, PDP had 80 votes. APC had 75. That's like in the seat of power areas. So once you move into the middle belt and all the way up, it's a sweep for Buhari. Mm-hmm. Buhari is sweeping those areas all the way up to the top. Now, the Southwest is one of the parts of Nigeria that's like everybody appreciates the Southwest, because the Southwest, Yoruba people aren't like the Igbos or like the Northerners, the Hausa North. Yoruba people are known to be the most democratic people in Nigeria. So when the Southwest makes a decision, you respect that decision. The Southwest never sticks by party or affiliation, no. They look at a candidate and say, who do we like, and that's who they go for. So I really appreciate the way, the results, even with the billions of dollars that Jonathan invested in the Southwest, the way they say the preliminary results is going towards APC, it says a lot with, we are talking of chiefs being given, hundreds of thousands to millions of naira, money. I don't think Nigeria has felt the weight of money. Bukola was talking about it and saying the money. The whole talk is about that money. The weight of money. It's so, to the middle belt, Taraba, all those areas, that's Buhari territory. Mm-hmm. All that is Buhari territory.
Okay, before we go, I want us to touch on this shooting that happened in Osun, where an APC supporter was killed. What do you know about other incidents of violence in this?
Yeah, well, before I answer that, may I just chip into what Brimah said?
Okay.
Yeah, I hope Buhari is as enthusiastic as Brimah is with him clearing, the North Central to the north. And of course, we wish we would have a free and fair election. If we do, then I'm sure Jonathan would have been advised to not even participate. And for him to have rescheduled the election from February 14 to March 28, and we have someone on record who said we actually instigated the change of the date, even though what they told us was because of Boko Haram. We have to remember that there are also stakeholders in those northern states that also would want to work, for Jonathan. There are some governors in those states, and there are also some, people that you're not really sure where they are. In Niger, for instance, I don't know if Babangida is angry enough, even though we read what he wrote about a week ago, to be able to let the will of the people prevail. Mm-hmm. So in some of those states in the north, it wouldn't be a clean sweep. But I'd also agree that Buhari will make a very good showing there. And also in the Southwest, I think to a large extent, that will make it happen for him if there's no rigging, which I do doubt. Talking about violence, the moment President Jonathan went to the Southwest and gave the contract for so-called policing of the oil pipeline security, and he gave the same to myself, and Dokibo Asari and Tompolo have been getting this contract for the past 2-3 years. That's arming the militia. So that's actually declaring war on the electoral process itself. Because why is it at the twilight of your own administration that you think it is necessary for you to give contracts to these people? We also should not forget that there are reports that Boko Haram started from criminal politicians who gave money to those, miscreants to be able to defend their interests, and they became a Frankenstein monster. They got out of hand. So what Jonathan is doing again by arming OPC, giving them so much money, is also to be able to go out there and wreak the havoc. So Oshun, if one life is, bad enough to be lost, but if we can just, if we can be just one here, there, that's okay. But I'm so nervous that at the end of the day, if the president loses, I think he has his ground soldiers who he has, armed, give him so much money, OPC, MASOB, the Niger Delta, the Dokubo Asari and all that, who might actually go out and foment trouble on his behalf. And that would be very unfortunate. But he has to remember, he has to know that Charles Taylor is somewhere now cooling his heels. So anything President Jonathan does that is going to, put the stability of Nigeria under threat would also make sure, we call him to question.
Now, final thoughts. I want you to give us your final thoughts. We will come back for another panel and have more discussion. But right now, is there anything, do you think that we've passed the worst, or that the worst is over? Or do you think that what is ahead is still very, very dangerous or difficult?
Unfortunately, I am. I wish I didn't have to share my pessimism with, the public, but I am prayerful, and I advise everybody to be prayerful and, to be as resilient as possible and committed to peace and protection of what I see as a democratic revolution. Jonathan would unlikely go out without a fight. That's how I see it. He and the cabal around him, the army chiefs who have dug themselves in deep, who have, jeopardized the whole democratic process. They've sabotaged it with the postponement of the elections, like Bukola mentioned. They've done certain things. They've crossed the lines. Fani Kayode has crossed the line. Obanikoro has crossed the line. Defense chiefs Minima, Alex Bade, these people have crossed the lines. Diezani, they've crossed the lines. They've insulted the dignity of not just General Buhari, who is one of the most respectable, just to try to highlight what I'm talking about. They've invested over $7 billion of taxpayers' money into trying to buy Nigeria. So they've insulted all of us as dignities, and we are all watching and waiting and deciding on when we are going to pounce on them. And they know this. They've insulted General Buhari. They spent $7 billion invested in looking for things against General Buhari's person. And with $7 billion and a team of people, IAD and all the other thugs that they hired, the only thing they could find on him was that a so-called claim that he doesn't have a certificate, but he went to War College. And what else did they find on him? If they look into me, into my life, they're going to find a lot of petty crimes that I have done. They're going to find a lot of stuff on me. With just $50,000 or even $500, they will find things I've done, the time that I broke the law. And I've only lived half of the time Buhari has been on earth. And for 70 years, they looked through his whole life and they couldn't find anything. And they kept insulting this man. So I think they know what they've done. The battle in Nigeria is a typical battle. It's the perfect scenario between good and evil, between ethnic and religious bigots and the decent heart of Nigeria. And the support Buhari has is support from the masses. The elites are afraid, they are desperate, and they are frightened. So I hardly see this going down without some desperate moves, irrational moves by Jonathan and his men. But so long as Nigerians remain the way we are, together and smart, we will crush Mujahid Dokubo, we will crush OPC Gani, we will crush all those thugs and get rid of them now, once and for all. So maybe it's time for them to go.
All right, we have to stop it here. Thank you, Bukola, for joining us again.
Thank you, Rudolf.
And thank you, Dr. Perry, for joining us. When we come back, we will have more discussions, more results, and more updates from our news division. So stay tuned.